Dixter's got one of the finest wildflower meadows in the country. It's within a garden setting, and it adds so much to that garden. It adds another dimension to it because we've got topiary, formal hedges, highly complex borders, mown grass, and then we've got the long grass that is so dynamic. It's got a long season from the spring right the way through to the summer. It's got all that wildlife with it, and it connects us to the countryside. And we've had a long partnership with the Wild Meadows Initiative project, and they are fantastic people to go for advice to just on everything, where to source seed from, sowing rates, how to prepare your soil. So it's great for us to work alongside them. So if you want to enhance a meadow and you look at your grassland, you know, you've just sort of inherited this field, and first of all you have to look at what you really want from a meadow. You know, if you're tidy-minded and don't like long grass, then obviously it's not going to be for you, because there's no point you having it if you're going to cut it as soon as, you know, it starts looking messy, because you want things to seed and naturalise, to be comfortable. You know, you don't want to go in there with machinery when the butterflies are still active and the crickets are still chirping. So you have to look at the practicalities of it. Are you going to like it? What do you want from it? You know, do you want something that's extremely rich in flowers, and with that the diversity of insects and all the wildlife comes on? Or will you be quite happy with just flowing grass that looks romantic? Yeah. The practical side of it is that, are you going to be able to cope with it? Because for meadows to go on into the future and not become scrubland and then woodland, they have to be actively managed. If your grass or grassland is full of very coarse grasses, and by coarse I mean broad or thick-leaved, very quick-growing, and it looks coarse to you, then obviously your ground is too rich. So the finer your grass is, the finer the leaves, the shorter they are, then the lower the nutrient level, then it's going to make a more successful meadow as a result of that. As well as the nutrient level, and we know that the poorer the better. I think that the pH is important as well. 6.5 is around about there, is best for diversity. You look at your site, and if it's full of docks, and over half the ground is taken up with docks, then really you've got a real problem to try and get rid of that. So, you know, you've got to question whether you want a meadow from that, or whether you've got a real uphill battle. If you look at your site and you've got narrow-leaved grasses, the finer grasses, and they're not growing too much, then that's just absolutely right to enhance with wildflower seed. And one of the best tools you've got is Yellow Rattle, Rhinanthes, which is semi-parasitic plant that taps into the roots of the grasses and takes the vigour away from them. So if you've got a field for coarse grasses, then this could be of great help, because it just basically it weakens the grasses and it allows other things to establish themselves. So, you know, it's great with ryegrass, because that's a coarse element that tends to dominate, really. So a hay rattle or a yellow rattle will go a long way to sort of push that to one side. You have to be careful when yellow rattle is involved, because it's an annual, and its germination time is sort of February, March. So as it germinates, if you cut or have animals in there grazing it, you're going to lose your yellow rattle, and so once it germinates, at that point, that field cannot be grazed or mown. You just let the yellow rattle come up, and then it will tap into the grasses. It will flower, drop its seed. The seed needs cold treatment through that winter to germinate again the following year. So, and you mustn't cut that field before the hay rattle has dropped its seed or ripened its seed. Then you want to keep that sward short by either grazing or by cutting again before you go into winter, so that you've got a short sward. You go into winter, it remains short, and then you've got a nice starting off point for the following spring. Another important consideration is your sowing rates, and you're looking at 3 to 5 kilograms per hectare of a mix. That's 80% grasses and 20% wildflowers. And when you're thinking about introducing yellow rattle, it's 1 to 3 kilograms per hectare. If you're thinking about a single species wildflower seed, then you're looking at 100 to 300 grams per hectare. Wild native origin seed that is suited to your conditions, to your area, to your geological conditions and your climates, and rather than bringing something alien from outside, and which I think is critical for biodiversity. There is a process to follow, the procedures for enhancing your grassland. First of all, you can't sow into long grass, so you've got to get the sward down, and you get the sward down either by grazing it down or by cutting it down. You can do that in June or July. And then really for effective take of your wildflower seed that you're introducing, you need to have 30 to 50% bare ground. So you've got to open up the sward so that you can throw your seed onto that. So you could do that mechanically with a chain harrow or something like that, or if you've used hay rattle, it will do that automatically. And when you've opened up the ground, obviously the seeds are going to germinate in there, so you need to have a process of killing those off. So ground has been opened in July, August, then you can spray those off, kill off the weed seeds, and you're ready to sow in September. And it's good to autumn sow because it just gives the grass, and the competition is slowed down in vigour, so it gives your seeds time to germinate and sort of establish themselves before the competition starts to grow and overwhelm it. So you can surface broadcast, and germination happens. Then the following spring the grass is starting to grow, so you have to keep the competition down for the seedlings. They need to see light, and they don't want to be overwhelmed by the grass, the surrounding grass, the flowers around them. So you need to top the field and cut the field and take the clippings off so that the seedlings don't get swamped by the vegetation around them. Also, that cutting process will stop the seedlings from throwing up their flower spike and all their energy going into flower, so they'll build up good roots, and you'll get a stronger root, or you make a stronger plant. And that cutting and taking off process will go throughout that year to keep competition down, to get light hitting and it could be grey, or so the cutting or grazing to keep the sward low will happen throughout that year to keep competition down. And then the following spring you can just let the whole thing grow and establish itself. An alternative to seeding is using plugs, but really they're really for the more specialist plants that it becomes very expensive to do a large quantity with them. The process is exactly the same as with seeds, except that rather than broadcasting seeds, you're putting in plugs and using something like a bulb planter. You do it in the autumn and you keep competition down. You mow the following year and take off, or you graze the following year, so that the competition doesn't overwhelm the plants that you've introduced.
Well, plant plugs are well-rooted young native plants that we use for planting enhancement projects. Growing plugs from individual seed species or selections, and they may not be present in a general wildflower meadow mix. Sometimes species like sneezewort, say, or ragged robin may not be in a meadow mix, so you can add them as plugs to supplement what's gone in the main basic wildflower meadow mix.
First of all, you have to look at what a successful meadow is, because some people aim too high. They think that they need to have orchids and adder's tongue ferns and all those little rarities in order for them to have a successful meadow. But very often just oxeye daisies with red clover and those wonderful grasses, native grasses that you get is good enough. They sway in the wind and they're nice and romantic.